So guys, meanwhile, other people are joining. So can anybody from the audience who have joined so far confirm कि आवाज properly आ रही है? You guys can simply comment or maybe through any emoji or smiley. You can make me confirm whether I'm audible to you or not. Thanks. Finally, I got one confirmation, so which means I'm audible to you guys. So thanks, Pankaj, Mahi, Shivali. Thanks everyone. Lakshmi. Venu, Babulal ji. So Babulal ji, Nandan, I've sent you the request. So if you guys are free, so definitely we can have a chat. And then for our audience, यार कुछ आपके सवाल हो और if you want to put your short inputs, so I'll be happy to bring you guys as a speaker and you guys can share your thoughts. So basically क्या लग रहा है यार देखो मार्केट में जब सब कुछ बहुत अच्छा लग रहा हो ना तो at that point in time I believe there has to be something I mean, we should be looking things. I'm not saying you become a pessimist and keep on cash and wait for the bull market to end and then regret that. But again, my broader point is when the market is like doing too well, then there has to be something backing that. And for the portions within that market which is being not supported by the fundamentals or the financials, in that case you have to be very cautious or we can say you have to be on your toes as far as your investments are concerned. But again, if your horizon is kind of longer, then definitely the time period provides you the necessary cushion. So that also needs to be taken care of. And see, once again, Naveen, wait for a while, yeah. So once again, we are seeing across the social media that everything is rosy and people are firing the rockets and whatnot, right? So that is again, obviously Twitter is one good place wherein we can do the hygiene check of the market, the behavior of the participants. So when majority of the people are bullish about one particular counter or maybe one particular segment of the market, in that case, instead of getting into the FOMO, the questions you need to be asking yourself is whether you understand that space or you are simply jumping in so as to you do not want to miss out the rally, right? So obviously there would be times when the things will get extended and you will feel bad in the sense that you should have entered and you have also reaped you could have also reaped the benefits of that run. But there has to be some process which needs to be followed diligently. Then only you'll be able to do good for a longer period of time. So definitely, you should not be like wandering in the market here and there, following one person today and the other person the other day. There has to be some sense on that also. You need to be a smart cloner, right? You should not be simply or blindly following anyone, right? There are many good people who are sharing their knowledge selflessly through Twitter and other mediums, be it YouTube or other platforms. So you definitely should be looking for good people from where you can learn the nuances of the market. But again, you should not be missing out on the very basic things that, there has to be a limit to everything, right? Things cannot go to sky for a shorter period of time. Obviously, they can, and when people enter any counter, they want. But again, you cannot say that I am investing in this counter today, and my expectations are 100x or 200x, right? So that happens. Things evolve, and you have the patience of keeping those things for that long. So the major risk which I see is associated with every individual, that is their behavior, right? So when we come in touch with other friends and family or maybe the people who are investing, if they are doing better than us, so definitely we get swayed along with the talks they do. And obviously, when other person or say a good narrator tell you thing, in that case, you get swayed for sure, right? So we all are looking for confirmations in our investment. So that is very common to everyone. I am no exception. So basically, if there is some counter to your mind and there is some good investor or other person talking about that, or you see two, three charts related to that particular company, so you build conviction that way. So again, I'm not saying things do not work that way, but again, that is not a foolproof process, and therein comes the risk because the people who are sharing on the social media, not everybody is telling about the exits, right? So you need to be very careful. And when the person is sharing, you never know that, although there are some people who mention that they bought it today or at XYZ price. But again, it is not their responsibility or not, they are not paid for that, right? There could be some hidden motives as well. And apart from that, also, even if the person has shared in good faith, he or she can also go wrong. So there are many things which we can discuss, and I also see Parvez Baria sir. So sir, in case you are free, would love to hear you out, and definitely you can tell our audience about your process as well. So Babulal ji, am I audible to you this time?
Yes, sir.
So anything you want to say on the risk, or maybe in general, how you are like doing this point in time? Basically, क्या चल रहा है sir?
कुछ नहीं scared है. I am scared now. Buying very selective. Sitting on 20% cash. I was on 25% cash. So can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir, I can hear you. So basically, scared of what? What are the risks, or maybe some things which you have in the back of your mind, which is making you say that?
Yeah, I think markets are expensive, at least from the today's perspective point of view, unless the new government policies come out in open and clear. And certain stocks are really overpriced. There are some value stocks which we are buying slowly, and as agreed upon, we don't talk about the specific stock names. So I'm selectively buying what say I'm sitting on cash, but very slowly. Somehow, last 3-4 years have given so much return that I would be more than happy to get 10-12% return this year.
So one by one, I'll be coming to other speakers, and Babulal sir, as and when you have any inputs to say, you can surely come in. Yeah, Naveen, you have your hand raised. You can unmute and ask your question, or maybe a very quick input if you
Yeah,
want.
I just want to know that since that news is going to spreading very fast that about the 30% tax and all.
So, Naveen, like anybody else in the podcast today, this is speculation as far as my understanding is concerned. So, until and unless you get things in black and white, you cannot say with certainty. And when it comes to budget, so it is very secretive, and till the time it is released, nobody knows except the very, very small team which is working on it, and that too is. Bound not to leak those things in public domain. So, and I do not think that anything major as far as the taxation is concerned is going to happen. But again, it's always 50-50. It can or it cannot. I mean, it may or it may not happen, right? So it's too naive to act on these speculations. So if your investments are based on how the budget would be, definitely you should be cautious about it, or maybe scared or nervous about it. But if your horizon is comparatively longer, in that case,
How
I think
how to be cautious about
that will
this?
be.
Like everything is going normal till now. Need to know how to be cautious about this. What are
So,
the steps
Naveen,
like let's follow?
Nee, from where you get that news? I mean,
everywhere in Twitter main.
everywhere where any social, I mean, print media or any authentic source gave you that news, or it's mere speculation, right?
Just on social media.
So social media can say anything, yeah. Basis that you cannot keep. I mean, if you are a intraday trader or a swing trader who keeps your investment for a week or so, in that case, it can impact. But otherwise, I do not think the government, which has been formed with a coalition, I do not think they are going to drastically take any such decisions which can impact. And obviously, if that happens, then coalition partners also will be after the government, because nobody wants to be bad in the eyes of the normal public, right? So let's wait. Not far. I mean, if it's on the first July, then it's hardly a week away. So if I would have to consider investment basis that, so fresh investment I won't do, and the existing investment, if there is something which is troubling me, I can take a decision. Otherwise, if the horizon is long, I won't be touching any of the investment. So that is what I do in such situations. So this is again specific to everyone, but I believe the government will not derail the healthy market participation which is going on. And on the top of that, we cannot rule out as well, but this is unlikely as far as my understanding is concerned, and I reserve the right to be wrong. Right.
Thank
Okay. So
thank you, thank
thanks.
you.
So next in line is Rajneesh ji. Yeah, Rajneesh.
हेलो।
जी सर, बताएं।
हाँ जी प्रिंस जी नमस्कार, बाबूलाल जी नमस्कार और सभी लिसनर्स को नमस्कार। तो मेरा ये मानना है क्योंकि बजट तो इर्रिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ बजट अगर आप देखें काफी टाइम से मार्केट अभी अप ट्रेंड में ही है और जो वैल्यूएशन देखेंगे आप, चाहे निफ्टी की वैल्यूएशन देखें, चाहे आप इंडिविजुअल शेयर्स की वैल्यूएशन देखें, कोई भी शेयर आपको 25-30 पी से नीचे आपको नजर नहीं आता। तो मार्केट में एक करेक्शन तो ओवर ड्यू है, लेकिन सब लोग ये मान के चल रहे कि मार्केट एक तरफ ऊपर ही ऊपर जाएगा। तो करेक्शन कब आएगी नहीं आएगी वो कोई भी नहीं कह सकता, चाहे कितना भी एक्सपर्ट हो। बट मेरा मानना यह है कि अगर आपको अपने किसी भी शेयर में लगता है कि वैल्यूएशन स्ट्रेच आउट है पी लेवल्स पे और ग्रोथ उसमें नहीं दिख रही है, तो इस समय पे प्रॉफिट बुक करना ही मतलब एक बेटर वो है, इर्रिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द बजट कि किस डायरेक्शन में बजट जाता है। अब फॉर एग्जांपल आप कल देख लो, परसों परसों न्यूज आई थी कि इन पे एग्रोकेमिकल्स पे फर्टिलाइजर स्टॉक्स पे जीएसटी कम होने वाला है। तो कई स्टॉक में 20% सर्किट भी दिखा। आज वही देखोगे वही स्टॉक 6-7% वापस करेक्ट हो गए। तो वो जिसकी वैल्यूएशन फंडामेंटल पीछे स्ट्रांग नहीं है और वैल्यूएशन हाई है, तो वो इन एनी केस इज ए सेल। आप कुछ ऐड करना चाहे तो बोल सकते हैं।
नहीं नहीं, बिल्कुल रजनीश जी, आपने काफी सही बोला। और देखिए, दो एस्पेक्ट हैं कि अगर जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है, जैसा ऑल दो आपने बोला कि देखो, सीधी सी बात है कि आपका पैसा कब बनता है कि भाई, या तो वैल्यू आप आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं कि भाई जिस जिस प्राइस पे आपको जो चीज मिल रही है उससे बहुत ज्यादा या काफी ऊपर उसकी वैल्यू है, और यू बाय लो और एट सम पॉइंट इन टाइम यू सेल हाई। या दूसरा ये है कि अभी हो सकता है वो फेयरली प्राइस्ड हो, या लेकिन उसमें ग्रोथ विजिबिलिटी इतनी है कि गोइंग फॉरवर्ड आपको लग रहा है कि वो यहाँ से भी अच्छा करेगा। तो इन दोनों सिचुएशन में अगर आप इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं तो आपको बने रहना चाहिए। बट कहीं पे आपको ऐसा लगता है कि जो अर्निंग्स और फ्यूचर की ग्रोथ है वो 2-3 साल की पहले ही डिस्काउंट प्राइस में हो गई है, और गोइंग फॉरवर्ड तो वहां पे आप अगर पूरा नहीं तो एटलीस्ट पार्ट प्रॉफिट कर सकते हैं। बिकॉज वी हैव सीन कि जब मार्केट अच्छी चल रही है तो बहुत एक्सटेंडेड पीरियड के लिए भी अच्छा करती है। और सीधी सी बात है, जहां जो चीज आपको नर्वस कर रही है, बीट ऑन दी एलोकेशन साइड और कन्विक्शन साइड, तो अकॉर्डिंगली आप अपने आप को उसमें डिसीजन ले सकते हैं कि आपको वहां पे एलोकेशन कम करना है या वहां से मूव आउट करना है कैश में, है ना। वो इंडिविजुअल डिसीजंस हैं।
इसमें एड ऑन एक और है, क्योंकि अभी जो मार्च के रिजल्ट्स आए थे वो बहुत सारी कंपनियों के अच्छा है। अब जो जून, अभी एक तो बजट आएगा, सेकंड ये कि जून के जो रिजल्ट्स आने वाले हैं वो मोस्ट ऑफ द कंपनीज, क्योंकि फर्स्ट क्वार्टर है तो उसमें काफी सारे, अभी भी आप देखें, अब अगर मैक्रो लेवल माइक्रो लेवल पे अगर इंटरनेशनल मार्केट का देखें, एक्सपोर्ट डाटा देखें, उसमें कोई खास इंप्रूवमेंट ऐसा नजर नहीं आता कि जून क्वार्टर के रिजल्ट कंपनियों के एक सब्सटेंशियली मार्च क्वार्टर से एक्सीड करेंगे। तो वो डाउनवर्ड जाने की उम्मीद ज्यादा है बजाय अपवर्ड जाने की।
Thanks, Rajneesh ji.
थैंक यू।
So, Shivali, you can unmute and you can ask your question. And Rajesh ji, I'll come to you after the once we take question from. Yeah, Shivali. Shivali, you're still on mute. Anyways, so Rajesh ji, अभी at this point in time, not specific to any segment of the market, but broadly आपको क्या क्या risk लग रहे हैं और अगर particular segment भी mention करना चाहें तो that is up to you.
Hi. No, I think market definitely जैसे बोल रहे हैं, I think specifically I would say कि निफ्टी वगैरह मेरे ख्याल से निफ्टी में इतना ज्यादा मतलब we can say कि उसमें ज्यादा डाउनसाइड नहीं दिखता है until unless we have major issue with the economy or some major surprise in the budget. But अगर SME market की बात करें, I think it has given a phenomenal return since March fall, since the lows of March. And I think probably it's making a bit kind of a topish chart pattern as well. So probably we might see some kind of correction in the SME market in next couple of weeks maybe. And but it will not be a major correction one. So I think if you see the SME index, it has already like almost doubled from March lows. So double of index is like a quite significant move without major correction. Apart from that election related some correction or weakness we saw around 4 June. Since then also it has given like a 20-30% kind of up move from there. So I think SI market definitely looks a bit topish, and we might see some correction in the coming months. But I think, but still, it will not be a major issue. It will be like short-lived correction, maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 days of correction, and then again back to like resumption of its trend. So probably around budget time, probably we might see some profit booking in SMEs, and then once the budget is clear, then probably we might see some recovery happening slow and gradually, and again we will be moving in an uptrend. But as far as the Nifty is concerned, I don't think there is any major issue. Like if you look at the Nifty where it was, like on 15th January, Nifty was around 22,137, and we are now at 23,500. So we have not given any major up move since that time, right? So Nifty is not like a overvalued in terms of fundamentals and other parts. So probably some technical little bit correction here or there in term as we approach the election, the budget time. So that could be the reason for some nervousness in the near term. But apart from that, I don't see any major issue in the market in the near term. So I think maybe correction, if people are a bit fearful of correction, maybe they can take some money off the table and then buy something when the technicals improve, specifically for the SME market.
Right. And lately, I heard the interview of Mr. Radham Desai. So basically, he also cited that on the budget thing, his anticipation was that the government is like it would behave the way it behaved in Modi 1.0 and Modi 2.0. I mean, there would not be much on the populist side of the budget, and definitely the roadmap which has been envisioned by the current prime minister. So they'll be adhering to those things, and going forward also. I mean, at least for next 5 years, he believed that things are going to be very good. Obviously, there could be some hiccups or small hiccups in the market. That is again obviously needed as far as the market is concerned, because if it goes in one direction, in that case the things are difficult. So Rajesh ji, on the capex side, he also talked about the rural recovery. Any thoughts around that?
I think capex and rural recovery probably are two different things. I think capex is more like driven by the sector which we usually talk about, the infra, power, defense, all these things. Rural is probably more driven by the consumption. So I think people were talking about earlier that the rural economy is not doing well because the consumption is not doing great. The consumption as a market segment is not doing great. So probably we'll see like what kind of focus the government has in reviving the consumption in the rural market. Whereas the capex side of the story, I think the sectors which uh, have been earmarked for major capex in the next couple of years or this decade, I think they should continue to do well from a longer term perspective. The earning visibility and the order inflow visibility is quite significant. So maybe sometimes they might overstretch on one side, then little pullback, and then again back to the things as you see more new orders coming into the picture. So the capex story is still intact and strong. I don't think there will be any major pullback from the government to cut down the capex in all these things, because most of these capex things are driven by the global factors. Like power is a global theme driven by the global mandate to increase the share of renewable energy. And then you have significant investment which should come in the grid expansion as well. And then second is the defense part. So defense is the one which is more domestically driven theme, which is basically the need of the hour. So that is also going to remain intact. And then infra theme is also there. So infrastructure spending is likely to remain strong when we talk about TDP trying to develop Amravati as a major capital for Hyderabad. So for Andhra Pradesh. So I think all these infra-related themes, so all the capex themes should remain intact. We are not seeing. I personally don't expect any major pullback in the capex spending plans. And the thing which we need to see is the rural consumption. So rural consumption, there are two drivers. One is driven by the government, and second is driven by the weather-related effect in the rural economy. So if we see a normalized weather environment this year as compared to the last year deficient rainfall, I think we should do well as well on the consumption part. So we really need to see what kind of steps does the government take. So MSP, we have seen already that they have increased MSP on many crops substantially. So that is another factor which will drive up the earnings for the rural economy and maybe the consumption as well. So all these factors probably we need to see, and then as we move forward during the year, we will have an eye on the assembly elections which are going to happen in, I think, Maharashtra and some other Haryana, Maharashtra, and I think a couple of more states which are lined up for election this year.
Right. So basically, I was talking about the private capex. He was like, if I remember correctly, the private sector balance sheets are pristine, and since it's a policy continuation, so basically, the government will try to lift the growth rate and create opportunities. And if more opportunities are created, obviously, the per capita income of but I mean, the rural, even in the rural areas, also people will increase, and definitely they'll be spending more. So that would be a virtuous circle in that sense. And we are also anticipating a good monsoon. In light of that, as you were talking about certain companies, so those companies shall also related to the agriculture sector shall do good. And obviously, as we saw in the year 2004 to 2010, the private capex in the year 2004 was 4% of the GDP, wherein it reached up to 17% of the GDP by 2010. So likewise, there was lull period from 2010 to 2020, wherein it again revert back from 17 to 4%, right? So right now we are at 5%. So definitely from here, we can, although we have grown the size of the GDP, so definitely, he was talking about at least sees at least it double it from here, right? And the rural growth is improving, so definitely, industrials and financials are also two pockets wherein we should be focusing on, and there are certain, PLI benefits also the government is going to expand, and Even they were focusing more on the reducing cost in the logistics sector. So these are certain pockets he was talking about. And but one thing, I mean, is still a question. So basically, from if we compare it from year 2022, 23, and now in 24, the stake of FII is on a continuous decline. So the bigger question is when they'll be coming back, or it's the domestic or the retail participants will be supporting. And so, any take on the FIIs, or it's do you see this as temporary, or it's like there are other markets which are more lucrative? What's your thought on?
I think FI probably, if you, as you mentioned, so they have been pulling money out of India, I think for like since 2012, 13. So I think almost every year they ever, like they pulled out money from India substantially. So it is more driven by the DII and HNI and retail money, and you look at the SIP inflows. So they have been like making new record every month. So these things are definitely happening, and I don't think that FII are going to come here like a wholeheartedly, because I think one factor would be that we are not a value market, value buy market as of now, and the sectors which are value buy, they probably have remained value buy as of now. So the growth is definitely, there are many growth segments, but the growth segments are quite pricey. So instead of buying HDFC at the same level and seeing that there is a lot of value left in this, so but you will not make much return. And on top of that, you have like a rupee depreciation, so that could have negative effect on your holding as well. So all these factors, I don't think that FIs are going to come wholeheartedly. So it is our market. वो कहते हैं जब ये दिन भी हमारा होगा, मार्केट भी हमारी होगी, ड्राई भी हम करेंगे. So the same thing apply for India market, like for DIIs and retail HNIs. All these guys are here to drive this market, given the financialization of saving which is happening and continue to happen in the coming year and months and decade. So I think FI is probably people will forget about what they are doing in few years time.
Right. So basically, two, three bigger risks which was highlighted by Rhythm sir in his interviews. One was global risk, wherein the growth and the global growth will become skewed, and China deflation, etc. So that was one risk which was highlighted, and second was capacity building, in the sense like there are certain changes, or maybe you can say warranted changes which are due, be it in the judiciary or the bureaucracy, and even in the education and health sector. So there were certain things which were, and he was also very bullish when it comes to deep tech or maybe energy transition, even the manufacturing we already discussed, and PLI manufacturing, aerospace is again is an interesting space as per him. So these were few highlights of that interview which happened that day. So let's see, we got two more speakers. We'll take their questions, and after that we'll. And I see Ameya, Sakeji. So in case you guys are free, we'll also love to hear out some thoughts on the risk in the market at this point in time. So meet, okay, Alan joined first. So Alan, you can unmute and you can ask your question.
Hi, thanks, Prince, for giving me the opportunity to speak. First, I would like to say that risk in the market as the subject of this topic. Risk is always there in the market, whether it is very high or low. So today, now after the election result, market is making a new high on every day, and definitely there is a risk. But I think this risk should be taken, and well-informed investor should stay in the market and do not worry about the risks, because overall whatever I feel that overall market scenario is very good. Government is very supportive, and I see a very positive movement in the market in the coming days. So I think risk is always there. So it's worth to take the risk, and it is an opportunity to big a very big money in the market. Thank you.
Thank you. So meet, you can unmute and ask your question.
No, I have no question. Thanks for calling me. I actually forgot what I had to ask. So thanks. Thanks, Prince.
No worries. Take your time. You can come again. So, Wilroy, you can unmute and ask your question. Wilroy is still on mute. Do you have any question? So, Babulal sir has shared a very interesting pic wherein Harsh Goenka sir has shared before diving into any investment, make sure you know your risk profile.
Yeah, that is true. And the reason I said
So,
yeah, I'm scared, uh, it is not the profitability or market bull run, whatever. I see some deep potholes coming on a political side. Anything can happen in Maharashtra, and that would be like some setback.
there is some background in, background talks. Rajesh, is it you or Babulal ji?
1 minute, sorry. It is my background. Sorry, sorry.
Okay. So I was reading Howard Marks' book. So basically, he gave in an example of some game. My bad, I forgot. But he was saying like after 45 minutes, if you are not able to identify the fish in the poker game, then there are probably high chances you are the fish, right? So the idea was like you being in the market should be aware of your investment and the risk associated with that. And if that is not known to you, at least the risk which are under our control, then you'll be in a right spot. So there are certain requests. Let me see. And we are not limited to risk. कभी कुछ sector अच्छा लग रहा है या कुछ pockets अच्छे लग रहे हैं तो we can also discuss that to our speakers. Yeah, Rajat, you can unmute and ask your question.
थैंक यू सर फॉर गिविंग द अपॉर्चुनिटी एंड सर मुझे साइकोलॉजी से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन पूछना था, क्या मैं पूछ सकता हूँ?
पूछो यार, मार्केट से रिलेटेड सब
थैंक
चलेगा.
यू सर. सर जैसे मेरे पास ओरियाना पावर है, जिलॉजिस्टिक है, वो रोज एक नया हाई मारता है और उसके बाद फिर 20-50 पॉइंट पीछे आता है. जैसे मेरे पास काफी हैवी क्वांटिटी है, तो कैसे इसको कंट्रोल किया जाए कि या कैरी फॉरवर्ड किया जाए कि हाँ ये और ऊपर जा सकता है? रोज डर लगता है कि जैसे मेरे पास 6 लॉट है ओरियाना पावर के और एचजेलॉसिटी के भी 3-4 लॉट हैं, तो कैसे आप जैसे बड़े लोग उसको कैरी फॉरवर्ड कर रहे हैं, कैसे कंट्रोल करते हैं कि रोज 1 लाख का लॉस, रोज 1 लाख का प्रॉफिट? तो मैं जानना चाहता हूँ जितने भी यहाँ पे बड़े लोग हैं, जैसे राजेश सर हैं, उनका मैं ओरियाना का पोस्ट पढ़ता रहता हूँ, अगर वो अपनी राय दे पाए कि कैसे वो और इसमें विजन देख रहे हैं या और आगे जा सकता है. बस यही पूछना था. थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक्स रजत. यार देखो, जिसके पास ज्यादा हो रहा है तो डेफिनेटली मुझे गिफ्ट कर सकता है. एक तो आसान तरीका ये है. बाकी फंडामेंटल साइड पे क्या डेवलपमेंट है वो राजेश सर बताएंगे. ऑब्वियसली कोई डिस्कशन, कोई बाय सेल या होल्ड रिकमेंडेशन नहीं है. तो बेसिकली देखो रजत यार, सीधी सी बात है, अगर आपने बिजनेस पढ़ के लिया है तो आपको थोड़ा आइडिया रहेगा कि आगे चल के उसमें क्या होना है और वो चीज जो ग्रोथ आप देख रहे हैं वो प्राइस में है या नहीं है. और अदरवाइज तो यार आप राइड कर रहे हो, करते रहो. मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी अगर आपने लोअर प्राइस पॉइंट से ले रखा है तो क्या दिक्कत है, बढ़ रहा है तो. राजेश जी आप कुछ कहेंगे?
नहीं, आई थिंक वही बात है. आई थिंक डेली तो कोई बढ़ नहीं सकता स्टॉक, तो मतलब अगर आप इसका चार्ट भी देखोगे, कोई भी किसी भी स्टॉक का, नॉट ओनली ओरियाना पावर, किसी भी स्टॉक का चार्ट देखोगे, कोई स्ट्रेट लाइन में नहीं जाता है कोई भी. तो एक बार ऊपर जाएगा, नीचे जाएगा, थोड़े दिन फिर भागेगा, फिर जाएगा नीचे. तो वो तो पार्ट एंड पार्सल है. अगर आपने स्टडी किया है ठीक से कि क्या अर्निंग है, क्या पोटेंशियल है, देन आई थिंक दैट गिव्स यू कन्विक्शन टू होल्ड फॉर लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. Otherwise, though, if you have not done any study, then you will end up selling it, say 10% move, 15, 20, 30% move, or maybe 50, 60% move. So you need to see like what you are owning and why you are owning, what kind of drivers you see in the stock price. And if you are comfortable with that, you understand the business and you understand the catalyst and the long-term driver, then there is nothing wrong in holding good quality stocks. सो जहां तक ओरियाना पावर की बात है, वहां पे तो अभी तो स्टोरी शुरू ही हुई है. अभी तो मतलब उसमें क्या कितना बड़ा है, मतलब तो छोटी सी कंपनी है. मतलब दे आर डूइंग लाइक 300-350 मेगावाट काइंड ऑफ जो इंस्टॉलेशन है दिस ईयर दे विल डू इट. सो आई थिंक गोइंग फॉरवर्ड दे आर बिकमिंग लार्ज नाउ. After this fundraising, they will have higher capability to bid for larger projects. So you never know, like in few days they might, or maybe in a couple of months, they might announce like 200, 300, 400 kind of megawatt kind of order. So all these things will set them up for the next year earnings. So I think it's just a start of this renewable market in India. Even if you look at the last year only was the first year when we have a significant jump in installation, and this year also we are looking at significant jump in installation. So annually, like we are installing just 50 gigawatt of 30-40 gigawatt of renewable capacity, as compared to China, which has been like installing 50, 60, 70. Last year they did 200 gigawatt of installation in 1 year. So we are nowhere in front of the potential what this sector hold. So if it is giving you pain, like you cannot see 1 lakh up and 1 lakh down, so better to, I don't know like what to say, but these things will definitely happen in any stock you own, right? It's not that every day you see, okay, 5% up, chalo market khatam ho gaya हमारे लिए, अगले दिन फिर 5% up, 5% up, ऐसा नहीं होता है. So someday, like 10 days it will rise, then it will consolidate as well. Sometimes it will consolidate for months as well. So it depends on like what kind of investing style you have, right? If you are not a long-term investor where you see wealth getting created over a longer period of time, and you are a trader investor who invests for say 6 months or 1 year time, then it's your call, like how you want to play that segment. So investing is like everyone, it's a more driven by psychology, like how you want to hold a good stock for a longer period of time. So there are so many, like anchor investing, for example, there are so many anchor investors these days coming in SME, buying pre-IPO and then selling in 30, 40, 90 days, and then missing the whole next leg of big rally, which many of the SMEs have seen so far, like Bondada already like 10, 12 times, Oriana already, I think around 7, 8, 9 times the listing. So the people, anchor investors who have sold, so that is their business, the way they see this market. So they will have pre-IPO, sell in 30 days. So they will repeat this process every month or 2 months or 3 months. So it depends on like, so identify yourself first, like how, I'm not saying you identify yourself, but think about yourself, like what gives you more comfort. If it is giving you sleepless night, then better to sell and exit where you have more comfort, right? So if something is making you uncomfortable with respect to one particular stock, then you have to see what is making you more uncomfortable. If you are uncomfortable with the valuation, then you first dig into this, like why the valuations are high or why the valuations are not moving up or down. So you have to take a call. So if the valuation, you think that valuations are still decent enough as compared to peers, then you can still hold it, right? So up and down will remain there. So so as you are buying, some people are selling as well. So everyone have their own way of making wealth, creating wealth in the market. So you have to find out your comfort zone in investing, like what gives you comfort. It should not happen like you are investing today and then it's giving you sleepless night. So you have to identify and train yourself psychologically what exactly you want to do in the market. So I think Oriana and SJ you discussed. So I think Oriana is just a start of all these companies where you can see larger order coming in coming years. Like you see Vari Technology, right? So they got a larger order in January only, right? Before that, they didn't get that kind of large orders. So same thing can happen with these companies where when they build their capabilities, they will start getting larger orders. So market is going to expand. So solar market has just started in India, I think in last few years only, and it should accelerate as well. So I think stick with them. Management is quite excellent. So it's up to you. Like if you are getting excited by other stocks where you where you think that those stocks are giving very quick return, then you have to work hard. Basically, I can't work that hard. Like I can't switch so fast. There's so many IPOs coming. So sometimes we do feel, okay, I should have sold this and should have bought this, but it is very difficult. So having comfort with the management, basically, for building a good comfort with the management, it always takes 6 to 9 months to build that kind of comfort with the management. So if you are comfortable with the management, their execution track record, hold with them, hold the stock with them, and over a longer period of time, like I used to also, like in the past, I used to also sell like that only, like many people are doing. So buy one stock and then 50-60% return and then leave that stock. So over a longer period of time, it will give you the similar kind of chart, right? It will give you the similar kind of return where you could have hold one particular good stock, high quality stock with a very strong sectoral tailwind. So it would have given you the similar chart. So why there is so much of hassle of finding a new stock every 1 or 2 month? So reduce your decision making and focus on the quality part of the investing, and where you have very strong tailwind. So earnings are, like people do say, okay, earnings are, so based on 1 year forward earning, the stock is overvalued. When the sectoral tailwinds are so strong, you never know, like in next month you get one big large order, then all these earnings estimates will jump substantially, right? So you might end up missing so many large multi-baggers, which people might have missed, like Vari Technology. Right. So Vari renewable technology has been like 100, 200, I think, I don't know, like I've not calculated, but people might have sold them so early. So all these things, I think, take time. The conviction take time. So depend upon your own investing style. And I think focus on that. Build your conviction based on your own analysis, not depending upon others, what others are saying. So yeah.
Right. We'll come to speakers. So Vineet, broadly, market में क्या लग रहा है? Anything you want to say and any risk you want to discuss?
Hello. Hello. Sir,
Who is that?
Sorry, Prince. Man,
hello, Prince sir.
I think somebody's.
Yep. Who is that? Please name
Sir,
yourself.
this is Sagar Munot. I just wanted to ask one question to
Yes.
Rajesh Singla sirji. Sir, is there any stream left in Tech? Can we enter at this level also?
Sorry, which stock? I couldn't hear you
Vari
properly.
Tech. You were talking about Vari Tech, no?
Well, no, I don't follow Varitech, so I'm also like people who have not invested in Varitech and seeing it rising every day. So it is in consolidation phase, might consolidate first for some more time. So let it consolidate, let it make a good base, and then probably you can see, I think things then again start moving up. Company is good, management is good. They are the largest in this market, in the solar market, with the Vari Energy also up with them. So just focus on, let it build a base. I think that's what it is doing right now. So let it make a good, strong base, and then probably it will start moving up from there. It all depends on what kind of returns you are seeking. So for a 20,000 crore market cap company to become 40,000 crore, it is a very big task for the management, right? So it depends on, like, it's everyone investment style, comfort, return requirement, return expectation. So at the moment, Vari renewable technology, it should make a good base. I think let it make a base, let it stabilize, let it consolidate for some time, and then as the result comes during this year, probably we'll hear the company more about the future outlook.
Rajesh sir, what is your high conviction bid stock right now?
I think there's no such a high conviction. So conviction changes every day depending upon the move of the stock, the valuation. So mine is more driven by valuation, like what kind of valuation.
हाँ, लेकिन आपके हिसाब से अभी वैल्यूएशन किसका सही है? जो आपके फॉलोअर्स हैं उनके लिए आप क्या बोलना चाहते हो?
No, I think for me, no stock recommendation, I would say. I think it's a very, it will not be right to discuss stocks, what other like high conviction stock, because these things can change. So if I tell you something tomorrow, something happens and I might sell it, so it will be bad on my part as well. Like I don't want to discuss anything. No high conviction, low conviction stock from my side. So we can, I think, keep on a general market discussion instead of discussing stocks specifically, like what we like, what we don't like. So there are, I think you will find many good handles on Twitter who can give you some guidance on that, like which stocks they are buying, why they are buying. So sorry for that, but don't want to end up selling myself and you keep on you holding that stock for longer time. So let's keep this available.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Vineet bhai,
Yes, sir. क्या हाल चाल?
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया. क्या लग रहा है मार्केट का? What's going on? Anything new? I mean, obviously no names, but again, क्या चल रहा है?
So I'm sorry I missed the first part of the discussion, but I heard some of the stuff that Rajesh ji spoke about, and I, resonate with him largely. I think in terms of approach as well. तो देखो यार, मेरे हिसाब से तो overall markets look fine. Obviously, there are always risks on the horizon, right? And something or the other can go wrong at any point in time without any warning. So you need to be, you know, I think one way to hedge against it, and that's what I do, is I try and build larger positions in stocks which still have valuation comfort. At least I believe that they have valuation comfort. So if there's some macro event that goes wrong, I can be sure that I will not lose money in my large bets. And as you know, I'm a fairly concentrated investor. I think my top 3 positions are about 45 to 50% of my portfolio now. तो sectorally मुझे तो यार in power, of course renewables is great, but I missed most of the rally, unfortunately. I do have a small position in one renewable player, but I'm a lot more bullish in the transmission and distribution space. So that's an area that I like a lot more. And एक second, Princess, 1 second. I just have another. Sorry. I hope you can still hear me.
Right. हाँ, go on.
So the transmission and distribution space I'm quite bullish on, and the reason is overall power demand supply gap to hai hi India mein. There's a lot of money that's being invested. I think there's people have spoken at length about this on Twitter, and you'll see enough numbers being thrown around in terms of the total amount of investment that's going towards the sector. I think the sector is so large and there are so many parts in the value chain that the sustainable winners will be the ones or the parts of this value chain where the profit pools are concentrated. And what I mean by that is areas of the value chain where there are limited number of players who are providing the product or the service that needs to be provided to sustain this large influx of capital into power. And the entire solar space, for example, with module manufacturing, it's great because there's a lot of money flowing in, but at the same time, there is very less competitive advantage that one player has over another. Of course, some players are backward integrating and getting into cells, but the entire industry is essentially doing well because of protection, and that's the ALMM piece, and so it's for people who are already invested. And like I said, I am invested in one of these companies. I invested recently, about 3-4 months back. But it's a small position, and I would not be very comfortable buying into that part of the value chain of power. The entire ALMM thing itself, while the government obviously has made no intentions of rolling it back. In fact, if anything, they've extended it till the middle of next year. But I think this is a tail risk because the kind of infrastructure that needs to be built and the speed at which it needs to be built, I don't see how module manufacturers in India can keep up with that pace. And I think it's a matter of time when the government realizes this and they pull the ALMM out. And whenever they do that, that materially changes the way some of these companies are positioned. And that's a tail risk, and this will happen overnight. There won't be any warning. Suddenly, ek din notification aayegi ki LMM is out because the government wants to make sure that modules are available in enough quantity to be able to meet the surge in solar power demand. And when this happens, many of these stocks will probably correct 30, 40, 50% in a couple of weeks or exit nahi milega. So I am very wary of this space. Let me be completely frank. And it's also to a certain extent because I missed out on the rally. So, you can probably say to a certain extent that maybe it's sour grapes. पर एक position है मेरी इसमें, but it's a small position, about 6-7% of my portfolio. And I'm willing to ride it so long as the momentum continues. पर जो transmission and distribution side of the value chain है, वहां पर I think there's much more sustainable tailwind for a very long period of time, and there are only 8, 9, 10 players in the country who can do a good job there. And as fortunately or unfortunately, most of these players are still small companies. They are all in the range of 1,000, 2,000 crore.
कई बार ऐसा रहता है कंपनी भी क्लियर नहीं होती है कि उनका मार्जिन
किसी को
क्यों
नहीं
एक्सपेंड हो
पता
रहा
ना,
है
वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ।
क्योंकि
मुरली दिवी साहब को नहीं पता था कि
हाँ
कोविड
जी
कितना
जी
से, वरना तो वो ऐसी बात तो नहीं बोलते ना कि स्काई
जी
इज द लिमिट।
जी 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 नहीं वही बात आई थिंक इसमें अनसर्टेनिटी वाइज मतलब कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग
इट
वो
इज
इतना ज्यादा
इट इज ह्यूजली अनप्रिडिक्टेबल।
अनप्रिडिक्टेबल
सी, स्पेशली ऑन द इनोवेटर साइड ना, मैं ज्यादातर वही कंपनीज ट्रैक करता हूँ। मॉलिक्यूल इज इन फेज 3 डजंट मीन एनीथिंग
एनीथिंग राइट
because 40% molecules fail, and
राइट
even if the molecule has cleared phase 3 and it's launched, even then it may surprise negatively because phase 4 mein ya real market data will give you certain indications negative which you never anticipated, and the molecule may have to be withdrawn.
राइट या
So
संदीप जी
again, entry, what you can control, which is your emotional behavior, your self-awareness, as well as the valuation that you are paying and where you are in the business cycle. Howard Marks.
राइट
We don't know whether the market will continue. We have to know where we are in the business cycle today, as on today. The most important thing, Howard Marks.
राइट संदीप जी यू हैव सम क्वेश्चन टू आस्क
No, no, I think more than probably just to gain from your experience. In fact, Rajesh ji, you also have a long market experience, right? 10 years of equity research tracking many sectors. So generally एक market wisdom है कि accidents or I'll say bankruptcies or death of capital happens especially in hot sectors and not necessarily on down sectors. I mean down sectors deaths are so slow and so well documented that there are no like hard accidents. Those are natural deaths in a way, right? चाहे वो पेपर इंडस्ट्री हो या लेगेसी मीडिया हो, तो जो भी उसमें डेथ है वो बहुत नेचुरल कॉज से होती है, एब्रप्ट नहीं होती है. But on the contrary, except for let's say innovators, I mean technology, where deaths can be very sharp. In other areas, it is mostly because of hotness of the sector, over allocation of money, exuberance, I'll say. So maybe just both of you, if you can maybe first Sajal sir, I'm not sure whether I mean I don't recall actually any big ticket size failures in chemical and pharma, but that is also because I don't track sector very closely. Maybe in smaller segments, listed, unlisted, there might be enough accidents. So what exactly typically make these companies go down? Is it like competitors are better or capital misallocation? Or I mean, what's your general impression about of any let's say any favorable company? Hmm.
One word answer is management competence and ethics. That's
Hmm.
it. Because balance sheet and everything else is a function of management. So
Hmm.
you get the management wrong, then भगवान भी नहीं बचा पाएगा चाहे 10 साल
But
भी रखो.
wrong in what sense? In ethics sense, or wrong in terms of the
नहीं
capability?
नहीं नहीं. Trust, capability and growth hunger. All three. Most important is trust,
Hmm.
ethics and then capability and then growth hunger. All three, you need all three.
Hmm. Rajesh ji?
Sorry guys, I have to leave.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
I have to, yeah. So thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed the interaction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sajal sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello,
Rajesh ji,
Prince.
anything from your experience? I mean, if you have to really club your uh, tracking universe where you had seen the major drawdown, as in the companies never recovered, it was never cyclical, it was just a fancied story which no longer exists, kind of a cases.
I think made many and number of mistakes in my
No, no,
early
I'm not
career of
necessarily
investing.
even talking about mistakes. Maybe you missed it, but
Yeah,
at least you are aware of it.
yeah.
Not talking about your
No,
particular
I
experience.
think management, definitely management is the one which is the core of investing. The management quality should be at the core of investing decision. So and it takes time to assess the management. It's not like you speak with them a couple of times and you know everything about them. So it takes time, like 6 months, 12 months, depending upon how what the message they have communicated, whether they have walked the talk or not. So I think the management definitely is the major driver, or should always be the major driver of investing, followed by the sectoral tailwinds. I think these two are the major factors which definitely should be looked upon. And I think complexity of the sector as well. So as I said, like pharma and chemical, I found it, though I made my capital in pharma bull run, but never found it quite basically. I'm definitely not that much capable enough to understand the complexities of pharma and chemical. So it's just beyond my imagination, like how things move so fast and so complex in that market segment. So I just, even if there are so many multi-bagger, never touched that sector because I don't understand at all. So invest where what you understand. As Sandeep, you also know, you are also a seasoned investor. So whatever I'm saying is just like telling in front of big boss. So I think investing is always about like invest where what you understand easily. It should not be a complex thing which you don't know like what is going to happen. I think and management quality, sectoral tailwinds, and the easiness of the business. So the easily scalable business definitely makes much more money than the complex businesses. Complex, definitely there are chances if it is a very complex business and if they get things right, then probably they might have a monopoly in that business. So the chances of getting that kind of business are very rare. So look for the easily scalable business where the demand push is significant, not demand pull, because demand pull is always I don't like. I may be mistaken between it, because demand push is like you don't have to put much effort to get the sales done. So whenever there are a strong sectoral tailwind, then it is easy to sell in that kind of market environment. So understand which sectors are getting into that kind of market framework, and for how long they would be in that kind of framework. People say, okay, these sectors are say 3 year story, 4 year story. भाई 3-4 साल में ही पैसा बन जाएगा, then you don't need to be worried about like what's happening. And you never know whether that can stretch beyond 3-4 years, like how, because no one knows. So people do talk about, okay, this is this much, and they know everything. So in the market, understand, no one knows. Even the promoters also don't know like what kind of sector tailwind they are facing. Sometimes they can surprise you on the upside. So strong management, that one should focus on. Second, sectoral tailwind, and third is the easily scalable business. So whenever there is a difficulty in scaling up the business, it is always very difficult to make good sum of money. Like I would say the consumption sector is one of them. Maybe people might be surprised with that, but consumption sector is one of them where it is not easy to scale significantly unless you are selling dal chawal. So those things are definitely there, and so we need to see where the management can scale the business quickly because of the strong sectoral tailwinds. Some so people believe that defense or renewable, or I would say what else was the railways and all these sectors, or the capex sectors, they are like they have done the course, but I think they have not yet shown the earnings, right? Earnings we have not seen them yet, but the order books are full, so the earnings will come in the next few years. We might have seen that the valuation might have stretched, but the earnings will definitely make those valuation multiples normalize as they execute. And longer the tailwinds, the stronger the earning momentum for these sectors would be. So that's those are the three key points which I mentioned earlier. So the management quality, sectoral tailwinds, and easily scalable business.
Prince,
Perfect,
can I
sir.
come in?
मेरा question. Yes, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Hello, hello, sir.
So I agree with the earlier speaker that management quality is important. But the one factor what is missing in some sectors, that we do not have a complete control or availability of value chain in India. Chemical is a example of that. That if we require 12 chemicals to make a particular product, For 5 or 6, we are depending either on China, Europe, or anyone. So unfortunately, unless and there is a particular product line, complete value chain is available within country, and if the company is having control on the full value chain, either from purchase or themselves, they make good money. And of course, the management integrity is sacrosanct.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Sandeep, you were saying something.
No, I was just basically, kind of closing to what Rajesh was saying, more, discourse in public kind of a thing. Rajesh, I mean, obviously we understand certain sectors. We are very comfortable being a large cap guy who probably does a, top down investing. Banking was a natural choice for me, being a banker myself, understanding, economic cycles, banking cycles, credit cycles, and then naturally technology. Everyone more or less who has worked or have relatives, friends working in that space, it comes easy to many of us. Having said that, banking, while the sector cycle in itself is fairly solid, maybe earning momentum is good, but then valuations are not crazy purely because of presence of FIIs. So that FIIs versus DIA rotation is significantly happening in banking sector. So there is no way there can be exuberance there, right? So while entire India is hot, Indian banking is not hot. And then IT temporarily, especially the services side, that is where we are in India, has some kind of a demand slack, and that is visible across the chain. So that is where, getting carried away and going out of your comfort zone comes into the picture. But I also see it as, Rajesh ji, as a matter of, challenge. Like, you can't be fixated that I understand 3 sectors, 4 sectors. You can probably go bottom up also, and that's what I'm trying to learn, with the help of fellow investors, etc. So it's just like, returns cannot decide how good or bad my decisions were. I always wait for cycles to play out to understand whether it worked or not. So these are like very early days for a lot of people, including me. And probably things, when tide will turn, that's when people will realize what has happened. But yes, agree. One thing you very interestingly both speakers made is that anything which is India centric is actually much easier to play right now, because then you are not dependent on America, you are not dependent on Israel, Palestine. You are taking, I mean, sentiments apart, but business wise, you're not dependent on what happened in China. So anywhere the raw material price is so volatile that one penny stroke in China can dramatically change your projection for next year. What can promoter do? What can investor do? So in a way, inward-looking sectors are much more solid right now, purely because of business economic activity. In fact, other day, Prince, on your space, Amaya made a wonderful point. I never thought like this. While I take a lot of pride in understanding technology companies, I mean, I understand that point, but never appreciated it enough, was that typically I don't give a lot of valuation premium to companies working in India in IT. Why? Because these are the companies which probably can't compete in G7 countries with best of the best talent to, gain a business footprint. But on the contrary, they are also at the mercy of global IT cycles. Then there are companies which are, working in within India spaces, especially with governments, etc. Typically much less powerful IT teams. So if you go to Bangalore or Hyderabad, any tier 1 college guy would not like to work on some of these companies. They will say MNC client चाहिए, ये चाहिए, क्योंकि वहाँ पे टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोजेक्ट्स ज़्यादा हाई क्वालिटी के होते हैं. So capabilities wise, it's no brainer for anybody working in IT to say, oh, this company is not that good, right? Like, snap judgment. But the reality is their demand cycles are much more protected, and purely because there is so much of expenditure in B2G space. So within technology also, in services, in data centers, in so many things, anything which is inward looking is probably doing very well. So I may have made that point and I took a note of it. Will try to adjust my investment style for that factor also. So that this is what I wanted to add. But let's open it for other speakers, because Prince, I'm
Uh,
sure
Sandeep
there are
ji,
other
Prince,
points to be discussed.
Sandeep ji, Prince, I will take a leave now, so I just have to go.
Oh,
And thank you
Thanks,
for
Sandeep.
hosting such a wonderful session. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sandeep ji, for joining.
yeah.
Thank you.
So let's take few questions, and before that, we are a good gathering यार. At least YouTube को तो follow करो यार. इतना मतलब मेहनत करवा रहे हो, थोड़ा बहुत मुझे भी appreciation मिल जाएगा तो अच्छा लगेगा. Anyways, so learner GJ, unmute and you can ask. And Anmol, you can try once again. I think you are reconnecting again. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Lala.
Thank you so much, friends. I would like to know the view on the silver, especially going forward. So, how silver will do? Yeah.
यार सिल्वर के लिए एक हैंडल है, संदीप सर नाम याद दिलवाएंगे, अमित भाई है वो बता देंगे सिल्वर का, मैं आपको कनेक्ट कराता हूँ ऑफलाइन अब.
Okay.
बाय द वे लाइक संदीप भाई आपका भी कोई मतलब व्यू है तो ऑब्वियसली है. संदीप.
नहीं यार, मतलब इतना व्यू है बट इतना नहीं है कि मैं दूसरे को समझा सकूं. सो आई डोंट इन्वेस्ट इन प्रेसियस मेटल्स. फॉर मी दोज आर लेजी एसेट्स. Insurance assets. I don't buy insurance. I don't buy precious metal also. I love hard working assets. I want my money to work like I work 18 hours a day. So I
Okay.
don't buy here.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thanks. One small question. So this mid-cap 100 index, it has relatively performed well or outperformed small cap 100 or Nifty 50 in last 20 years. So is it good strategy to, have such a ETF for long-term holding if, stock specific studies, not so good or something like that for retail investor? Yeah, that's the question.
संदीप भाई, you wanna take that?
Maybe if you can repeat, I'll surely try.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you ask Vineet or Sandeep? Vineet,
Mm,
if you can take it. Thanks.
Sure, sure. No, not a problem at all. No, I think that's a very good strategy, actually, to be honest with you. For somebody who's uh, not able to give sufficient amount of time uh, to study individual sectors and take informed calls, I think going via the ETF route on a maybe an SIP basis over the long term is a good strategy. And that ETF does not have to be a Nifty ETF. Like you said, it can be a
Mid cap 100.
mid cap 100 ETF as well, and even a small cap ETF. So you got to understand what the ETF does, right? The ETF
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah,
for all practical purposes, is a group of momentum stocks, because
yeah, yeah,
anything that does not do well gets bumped out of the ETF, and things that are doing well get into the ETF.
yeah,
So over a long period of time, if your hypothesis is, and this is my hypothesis, that smaller companies are likely over long periods of time to grow faster and compound wealth faster than larger companies in the Indian market, especially with the kind of cycle that we are in the Indian markets, and a lot of uh, capital potentially flowing into the country. I think it's a reasonably good strategy to spread your money across different types of ETFs. And by different types, I mean the size of the company. So that's the uh, large, small, and mid cap. Also, if there are any particular sectors that you are generally bullish on and you think those sectors are going to attract capital, but you are not confident of being able to pick out winners in that sector, you could potentially even consider ETFs sectorally. But then I must clarify that I am not an investment advisor, so please don't take this as advice.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sandeep.
Yeah.
Thanks. So संदीप and Vineet, one last question और उस पर डिस्कशन करके उसके बाद will close. So basically संदीप, like investing before 2020-21 और उसके बाद का, तो what are the changes which you see in the market, or what are the challenges which has come maybe, or you can say they were present that time, अभी नहीं है या अभी है तब नहीं है, मतलब मोटा मोटी क्या चेंजेस है, so that the new breed which I am part two should know कि past में कैसा रहा है और अभी इतना जो अंकी डोरी चल रहा है, how long that is going to be a sustainable.
I think money supply. So if we go very big, as in really the people who manage hundreds of billions of AUM, the hedge fund guys, 500 billion, 200 billion kind of notionals, if not AUMs, right? They always track money supply. कि जापान से यूएस जा रहा है, कि यूएस से इंडिया आ रहा है, कि उसमें किस सेक्टर में जा रहा है. अब ये टॉपिक क्यों स्टार्ट किया कि इंडिया की जितनी भी एग्जिबरेंस है, इट इज एसेंशियली ड्रिवन बाय मनी सप्लाई. while we love to talk about companies, we love to talk about sector, we love to talk about government doing this and that, the reality is essentially financialization of savings. That's one thing. And that was triggered obviously by COVID. It's a well documented factor. I mean, don't want to bore the audience here. I think everyone understands. So whenever we are thinking very deeply about markets, maybe if you are thinking not deeply about it, that's fine. But if one really wants to, really think like what exactly happened in last 3 years, that is exactly इतना इंडिया में पैसा है. We are the savers, right? Like Chinese. और हम लिटरली FIIs को बाहर कर रहे हैं और इंडिया में उतना इन्वेस्टेबल यूनिवर्स है भी नहीं. तो इतना जो आईपीओ आ रहा है इन अ वे गुड भी है बिकॉज दैट विल कीप थिंग्स इन चेक. बट एट द सेम टाइम वी शुड ऑल्सो रियलाइज दैट मल्टीपल्स हैव. सो जो भी पूरा सेक्टर 20 पे चलता था वो 40 पे चलने लगा. जो भी मिड कैप 10% डिस्काउंट पे चलता था वो 15% प्रीमियम पे चलने लगा. जो माइक्रो कैप्स 15p एवरेज 10p एवरेज पे चलता था जो 60p एवरेज पे चलने लगा. क्यों? क्योंकि हमने स्टोरी तो बना ली बट स्टोरी आर पोस्ट फैक्टो जस्टिफिकेशंस. दे आर नॉट द कॉजेज, दे आर द एक्सप्लेनेशन. In fact, not even explanation, they are justifications. So money supply, and personally, frankly, Prince, it's like a vicious circle or what I say, virtuous loop if you are beneficiary of it, vicious circle if you're victim of it, जिसमें कॉज और इफेक्ट एक दूसरे को फीड करते चले जाते हैं टिल इट ब्रेक्स. तो जितना रिटर्न जाता आएगा उतना ही और फ्रेश पैसा आएगा. जितना फ्रेश पैसा जितना रिटर्न बनेगा तो ये साइकिल. One event happens. That event can be geopolitical. That event can be something. Sometimes, some of the biggest crises in the world are still not understood. So, biggest market crossover in US is 1987 Black Monday. And you do a simple Google, you'll find 10 definitions, and none of those are still like fully agreed upon definitions, right? So there are varied explanation of what happened that day, and no one understand what happened. It's just like there was exuberance, and that got corrected in a single day by 20% kind of a fall on index level. It's like Nifty सुबह उठे और 5,000 रुपए गिर जाए 5,000 पॉइंट और पूरा इंडिया को क्लूलेस हो कि हुआ क्या है. So 4th June you can have an explanation, but if it happens tomorrow, obviously you won't have an explanation. So those kind of corrections apart, as long as हमारी financial savings markets में आती रहेगी, this market will remain here. And it is essentially the people who have the capital, they are trying to grab the portion of future. So what is markets? Market is essentially giving value of what is likely to happen in 2030, 40, 50, 60, 70, right? It also like that when owners extract what exactly they are doing, saying we have the money, we are taking your future savings. So that's how I see it, a very broad based. Within that, there are some amazing sectors, amazing work happening. Just keep an eye around. All well documented. Again, railway, defense, renewables, once in a lifetime kind of asset creation. And because of the nature of work which is happening, there will be huge earning cycles. So usually earning cycles are 2 years, 3 years, very short cycles. But when once in a lifetime kind of a asset creation is happening, earning cycles can be literally for decades. Something which happened in China, even though it doesn't reflect in their stock prices, but it solely does in their capital block, right? So if that is the case, then probably we are at very early stages of these kind of maniac cycles. ऑब्वियसली प्रिंस भाई नेवर एन इजी आंसर. मैं पर्सनली इसको ऐसे समझता हूँ, अगर मार्जिन बढ़ते जा रहे हैं तो वो साइकिल की स्टार्ट है, खत्म नहीं है. और अभी तक कहीं पे भी ये सीन में नहीं आ रहा है कि जिन हॉट सेक्टर्स में कंपनीज के मार्जिन सप्रेस हो रहे हैं, वो अर्ली साइन होगा कि साइकिल पीक की तरफ जा रहा है. उसके बाद वो कब डाउन होगा वो तो अलग बात है. तो एक लॉजिकल सी बात है ना, ईपीसी जैसे बिजनेस में 18% कैसे मिलेगा जब हाई कैपेबिलिटी बिजनेसेस में लोग 12% मार्जिन में पैट में परेशान होते हैं, स्पेशली जहाँ पे कैपिटल इन्वॉल्व है. जहाँ पे केवल ह्यूमन कैपिटल है देन इट्स अ डिफरेंट मैटर. तो बट वो हो रहा है क्यों? क्योंकि काम इतना ज्यादा है और लोग उतने कम है. तो अब वो 3 साल चलेगा, 10 साल चलेगा, 15 साल चलेगा, इज एनीबॉडीज गेस. But I'm just trying to put some of the building blocks on how to think about market structures and industry, etc. Because then once you understand, then you can play. If it is just about prices, then obviously we will always live in FOMO.
Right. So learner had his okay. Vineet, you share your thought or question. बाद में let me.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I think
So,
Sandeep has been
yeah.
extremely eloquent on this and he's answered the question pretty much perfectly. The only thing I'll want to add uh, I think the concept of thinking risk first has significantly diminished, I think, in the last couple of years, and that's largely because of the kind of flows that we have seen in the markets. And while it's very difficult for us to know how long these cycles in certain sectors will last, and like Sandeep said, when the margins start or the margin expansion starts slowing down significantly on the margins, start flatlining, is when uh, the peaks of the cycle will be closer. Markets will almost certainly run ahead of time in terms of valuations of these kinds of businesses. So, what I mean by that is a lot of sectors that I'm viewing from the outside, I see that the market is assuming that the narrative that's being built up or the current earning cycle that's being developed is going to last for a very long time, and taking uh, stocks to multiples which you would typically award, or in the past we would award to companies like an Asian Paints, where you would say that this company's got a 30-year runway ahead of us. Many of the sectors that we're speaking about, and especially infrastructure focused sectors, the runway for making these supernormal profits in terms of the length of or the duration of time might not be as large. Even though the market might be valuing the companies in a way that it assumes that these runways are really large, uh, there will come a time at some stage in the future, and there's no time, no way to know when the market will start realizing that, hey, actually, this entire supernormal profit period was time bound, and maybe it was for 3, 4, 5 years, it could be 10 years. Nobody knows that. But when that realization starts happening, I think the leading indicator will be the valuations flatlining, and then you start seeing margins flatlining, and eventually you start seeing stock prices go horizontal for long durations of time. This, almost always happens in any cycle. So you can look at, what happened with capital goods in India in the early 2000s, what happened with the technology companies in the US in the late 90s and early 2000s. The market extrapolates earnings for a very long period of time, takes valuations to levels where it assumes that those kind of earnings will continue for many, many years. Over a period of time, they realize that those kind of earnings will actually not continue for many, many years. They'll be there for a few years, and then the valuation multiples start flatlining. So that could be an indicator that people can look for if they are looking to, take exits in these sectors. You must realize that if you're buying at levels where perfection of execution for a long duration of time is already factored in into the price, then anything that goes wrong could impact you very seriously on the downside as well. So, yeah, just that slight word of caution on when you can look to find exits in some of the sectors that are extremely hot today. Not to say that I'm not bullish on these sectors. I am very bullish on all of these sectors, and I'm invested in all of these sectors as well. But I will always have an eye on when that potential cycle could be peaking out, and I'll try to look for leading indicators as opposed to lagging indicators.
Thanks, Vineet. So, Sandeep bhai, if we can quickly, if you are comfortable, otherwise we will plan surely one session for main board companies. So, basically, the exposure you have in large cap companies or main board companies to say. So, which all are the sectors you have maximum exposure to, and at this point in time, do those sector provide you comfort, at least for, if we say opening fresh positions kind of thing? Names are not
No,
important.
no. I mean, those are such big names कि मैं name बोला भी तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है और मेरे कहने पे कौन ICICI बैंक ले लेगा. But then point is, I surely find Nifty much more reasonably valued purely because of presence of FIIs. So I find, it is very odd to say that, but not because of lack of volatility or multiples. Basically, Nifty within that, private banks are at literally like decadal lows. Some for valid reasons, some for purely because exuberance is not there, and that's where I'm heavily invested. Also, around 40% of my portfolio. But in my mind, that's like an FD. So I'm 100% equity guy, right? But I need safety. I can't play ping pong with my capital. I'm already playing in a way, right? तो उस वजह से I mean, because I've taken a 5-year, 10-year kind of a view, it really doesn't matter what is happening with Kotak or Axis in the short run, because I know in a 10-year cycle, if India GDP, nominal GDP is growing at 13-14%, these banks, purely because they will continue to gain market share, they will probably grow their earnings at 17-18 through the cycle. So I'm talking about the big cycles, not the 2 years. Because in 2 years, 3 years, a lot of things can happen. And frankly, these balance sheets are, corporate balance sheet in India is as clean as probably it has ever been in last 20 years. Consumer distress is still not visible except in pockets of, fintech supported unsecured lending, etc. That is where most of the banks are not there. So there is no distress. Common sense also says things are good. And that's where a surprise might come. And this is, I mean, obviously you can't compare it with the microcaps style of returns. So that's where one pocket. And then there are exceptional management. So I was lucky to ride solar industry. And I was again double lucky to not kill it early. Purely because I had exposure to Mr. Manish Nuwal. And this is just an example. And there are maybe 50 such managements in India where I find my bets sector agnostic, because even though the sector is very large, but it does not have any structural problems. I mean, namely, it is in defense which has become hot, but then management quality is such that for me it's like a no-brainer way. I mean, I don't have enough time. I'm not a full-time investor. I still work, right? So I don't have time to do a ground research of which defense company is good, which is story selling. So I'll rather take defense bet, for example, from larger caps, which are also incidentally available at same multiples. And personally, I have no reasons to believe that इंडिया का डिफेंस सेक्टर बहुत सारी छोटी छोटी कंपनियां ही क्रैक करेंगी और बड़ी वाली कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगी. इट नेवर हैपेंस लाइक दैट. सेक्टर्स आर नेवर, आई मीन इट्स नेवर ए बॉटम अप सेक्टर. इनफैक्ट वो डिसप्रोपोर्शनेट बेनिफिशियरी हो सकती हैं. वहां पिक करने के लिए आपको एक्स्ट्रा इंटेलिजेंस और एक्स्ट्रा हार्डवर्क चाहिए, विच वन आई डोंट हैव स्किल, सेकंड आई डोंट हैव टाइम. सो इस तरह की स्टोरीज हैं, बट वो सब उसमें रैंडम पिक्स हैं. मतलब उससे ज्यादा मैं डिटेलिंग में जाऊंगा प्रिंस, तो लिटरली आई एंड अप टॉकिंग अबाउट नेम्स व्हिच आई डोंट वांट टू, प्योरली बिकॉज नो वन विल अप्रिशिएट दैट. But that's essentially, so I'll say banks. IT, I've always been a big investor in IT. Surprisingly, again, not as a very thoughtful thing, as a matter of बेच दिया इन्फोसिस, काफी ऊपर अनजस्टिफाइड सा लग रहा था. फॉर ए लॉन्ग लॉन्ग टाइम आई डोंट रिकॉल आई बीइंग सो लो ऑन आईटी, except in micro caps where I have few, promoter bets. I'm literally zero in IT services for now. I'm waiting for mispricing, but that's not happening. So it's probably trading at a premium than where it should be. And outside of banking and IT, which is literally like 50-60% of what we say, India, Nifty universe. The consumption, MNC, all these are so hot. Even cap goods so hot कि कैप गुड्स में अगर प्ले करना है तो फिर आप माइक्रो कैप्स में आ जाओ. कोई 20p 30p की स्टोरी समझ लो, अच्छा मैनेजमेंट हो, चाइना प्लस वन से बेनिफिशियरी हो. तो फिर अगर सेक्टोरल खेलना है तो फिर कम से कम वैल्यूएशन तो सही से पकड़ो. आप सीधे जाकर के टॉप पे बैठ जाओगे. मतलब आप देखो ना, सीमेंस है, सब कुछ है, अमेजिंग कंपनीज, थर्मैक्स, आपको लेकर के पैसा डाल के भूल जाना है. बट अगर आप उसका 10 ईयर एवरेज देखोगे या 10 ईयर का उसकी, इनफैक्ट स्क्रीनर पे एक बहुत ही अमेजिंग फीचर है प्रिंस, विच आई एक्सटेंसिवली यूज बिकॉज आई डोंट हैव टाइम टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ रिसर्च, राइट. तो अगर मुझे थर्मैक्स समझना होता है तो मैं कुछ नहीं करता हूँ, स्क्रीनर में जाता हूँ, लास्ट 10 ईयर्स का सेल्स कैगर कितना है, ओके 15%. लास्ट 5 ईयर्स का कितना है, 10%. लास्ट 3 ईयर्स का कितना है, 30%, या एक रैंडम नंबर. So if that CAGR is dramatically changing, obviously something is happening in the company, in the sector. So that's the starting point. So sales is most sustainable. Then you go to the profits, and then you go to the stock price. So if your earning growth is much less than the stock price growth, that means it's the all returns of last 3 years is due to re-rating. And re-rating obviously is a mean reverting things. Profits are not mean reverting. So there is no logic that just because some company made 2,000 crore profit last year, it will surely make 1,000 crore profit. So absolute numbers are never mean reverting, but percentages are. So in a sense, जो अभी सजल जी बोल रहे थे कि अगर इंडस्ट्री का एवरेज एबिलिटा 15 रहता है और 25 है, तो आप एक ब्लाइंड बेट मार सकते हो कि यार कुछ ना कुछ करके रिवर्ट हो जाएगा, मीन रिवर्ट हो जाएगा. इट कांट सस्टेन. But similarly, P has to mean revert at some stage, right? बट एब्सोल्यूट प्राइसेस कैन गो एनीवेयर, बिजनेसेस कैन गो एनीवेयर. तो अगर कोई भी स्टॉक है जहां पे लास्ट 3 इयर्स की earning is in mid-teens, but stock price CAGR is in 50-60, you know कि स्टोरी ऑलरेडी मार्केट को बेची जा चुकी है. तो लार्ज कैप मिड कैप में प्रॉब्लम मेरे साथ ये है कि जैसे मैं डायरेक्ट स्टॉक में जा रहा हूँ तो मुझे वो सारे के सारे स्टॉक वैसे ही दिख रहे हैं. मतलब देयर आर सम रियली अमेजिंग कंपनीज, अमेजिंग मैनेजमेंट, वेल डिस्कोर्ड, एवरीवन अंडरस्टैंड्स. बट आप अंदर जाके देखोगे तो सेल्स का और प्रॉफिट का कैगर रहेगा मिड टीन्स एज इन 10%, 12%, बिकॉज दैट्स वेयर इंडिया कैन ग्रो. आई मीन, ऑल सेड एंड डन, Pidilite cannot grow at 60%, impossible, right? Dabur cannot grow at 50-60% no matter what they do in India. और HUL कैन नॉट डू. आई मीन, इसका ही छोड़िए, मतलब उनको 20s में भी जाना इम्पॉसिबल है उनके लिए. सो उनके गुड ईयर्स आर मिड टीन्स, बैड ईयर्स आर लो सिंगल डिजिट्स, आर मिड हाई सिंगल डिजिट्स. दैट्स वेयर द इंडस्ट्री इवॉल्व्स. तो उस तरीके से एनालाइज किया जा सकता है. बट फिर भी जिन लोगों के पास समय नहीं है उनके लिए म्यूचुअल फंड सबसे बेस्ट बेट है. फिर भी उनको डायरेक्ट इक्विटी करना है कि यार मुझे कुछ एक्सपोजर चाहिए, लर्निंग चाहिए, तो आई विल से लार्ज कैप इज स्टिल वेरी सेफ, एंड विद इन दैट बैंकिंग. प्रिंस.
Thanks, Sandeep. So, Learner DJ, very quick
Yeah,
question. We'll be closing
yeah,
that already more than 2 hours.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
So, banking, for banks, nutrition is FD. So, FDs are already declining. So, how you are saying, like in next 2-3 years, whether it will again, the flow will come back? And second question, yeah. And second question, the companies like KPIT and Thermax, can we enter with the current valuation?
KPIT Thermax, I'll surely skip. I have a view, but again, I never say a view unless I feel confident about it. So I'll skip
Yeah,
your
you
view because I
can
don't.
give
I'm.
for study purpose maybe.
हाँ, ठीक है. मैं केपीआईटी थर्मेक्स, मैं विनीत को या किसी और को रिक्वेस्ट कर दूंगा. बैंकिंग मुझे ब्रॉड बेस्ड समझ में आता है, तो उसका आंसर कर देता हूँ. यू हैव ए वेरी वैलिड क्वेश्चन, राइट? सो निम्स आर एट ऑल टाइम हाई. दिस कैन नॉट सस्टेन, राइट? So NIM has to compress. In fact, that is why stock prices are not have not gone up. So if you see last 2 साल से, पहली बात, बैंकिंग को प्रॉफिट्स एलोन से नहीं देखा जा सकता. टिपिकली पी बाई बुक वैल्यू का भी कॉम्बिनेशन देखना पड़ता है, क्रेडिट साइकिल्स भी देखना पड़ता है. बट अगर आप अर्निंग्स ही देखना चाहते हो तो आपको रियलाइज होगा कि जैसे कोटक और एचडीएफसी, यार इट्स, सब कोई मजाक उड़ाता है ना, बट फिर भी आप जाके देखो कि 4 साल से उनका प्रॉफिट लिटरली डबल हो गया होगा. बट उनके मल्टीपल्स जो कि वो 5 टाइम्स 6 टाइम्स बुक वैल्यू पे चलते थे, वो 3 टाइम्स पे आ गए हैं. उसका रीजन ये भी है, जैसे अभी विनीत बोल रहे थे, कि इंडिया में इन जनरल क्या हुआ है, लैक ऑफ रिस्क प्रीमियम और लैक ऑफ गवर्नेंस प्रीमियम. क्योंकि अभी जो करंट ब्रीड है उसको कुछ नहीं फर्क पड़ता है. वो तो ऐसे उठा के देख रही है ना कि केनरा बैंक 1.5 पे है, 1 पे है, कोटक 6 पे है, तो ऑब्वियसली कोटक बेचो और केनरा खरीदो. सिंपल सी बात है. वो उसको ये इस तरीके से नहीं स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं कि वो 6 पे क्यों है. उनको लग रहा है कि हमें पता चल गया है, बाकी को नहीं पता है. And if enough number of people are thinking like that, there is no way you can enforce your view, right? So market is collective wisdom. Market is never individual intelligence, right? आप कुछ भी सोचते रहो, as long as over a longer period of time, enough number of people agreeing to that view, it won't sustain. So FD, जो आप बोल रहे हो, deposits has been a challenge. Deposit rates are going up, but इंडिया में बैंकिंग मतलब लिटरली साहूकार हैं दोस्त. वो कभी भी उनके निम कंप्रेस नहीं होते हैं. दैट्स द सैड पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया, कि हम इतने अंडरफेड थे बैंकिंग सेक्टर से. वर्ल्ड में कहीं पे भी 2% भी निम नहीं होगा. हमारे यहाँ 3.5, 4.5, एंड आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट एनबीएफसीज, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट टियर 1 बैंकिंग. सो 4.5 ऐसे समझो ना कि आपसे वो 6% में एफडी ले रहे हैं और 10% में एवरेज पे लोन दे रहे हैं. टियर 1 बैंकिंग, नॉट इवन बैड बैड क्रेडिट्स एंड ऑल. वो जो पावर है ना बैंकिंग की, वो आप एज ए कंज्यूमर भी फील कर सकते हो. आपको नहीं लगता कि एचडीएफसी आपको कुछ भी रैंडम रेट देता है और जब लोन लेने जाते हो तो 9.5-10%. तो सो कॉल्ड जो वेरिएशन हैं वो 0.5% हियर एंड देयर होंगे. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि ये 4% निम या 3.5 पे जो इंडिया चल रही है वो 1.5 पे चलने लगेगी. वैसा कोलैप्स हो नहीं सकता. जब वैसा कोलैप्स हो नहीं सकता तो आपका 1 साल का ऊपर नीचे का पेन हो सकता है कि अर्निंग आई बट प्राइस ग्रोथ नहीं आई. बट इफ यू आर बाइंग इट फॉर ए 4 year व्यू, either you will get 100% of earning performance or you will get 75% of earning performance. That's all it can happen. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah, yeah. So is it equally applicable for NBFCs, this view?
एनबीएफसी में प्रॉब्लम क्या है, अगर आप देखोगे बहुत सारे सीजनड मार्क्यू इन्वेस्टर्स दे डोंट इन्वेस्ट इन बैंकिंग. सो लाइक आई सेड ना, मैं तो अपने मार्क्यू के रिटेल भी नहीं हूँ, बट आई एम सेइंग कि ये बहुत पॉपुलर व्यू है डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टिंग में, कि people don't touch banking and NBFC, which is little surprising to me, क्योंकि मेरी जो टॉप डाउन रीडिंग है, मतलब ग्लोबली किसी भी बड़े पोर्टफोलियो में बैंकिंग रहता ही रहता है. एंड उसका रीजन ये है कि लोग इसकी सिक्लिकलिटी को से परेशान होते हैं कि आप 5 साल एक बहुत अच्छा कंपनी बिल्ड हो रही है, फिर सडनली 6 ईयर क्रेडिट साइकिल आएगा और चीजें खराब हो जाएंगी. तो एक सिंपल सी बात है लंदन, इसमें मैंने एज ए रिटेल पर्सन मैंने ये थॉट ऐसे सोची, आई ऑलवेज ट्राई टू टेक अ प्रमोटर व्यू, कि अगर मुझे पैसा कमाना होगा, अगर मेरे पास लेट से बाई पेन ऑफ स्ट्रोक कोई मुझे 5 लाख करोड़ देके चला जाएगा, विच बैंक यू वुड लाइक टू बाय? एक्सिस बैंक फॉर अ 10 ईयर व्यू, or some random NBFC whose right to exist is only to handle the clients which Kotak is not ready to handle. So obviously they will make 6%, 7%, but that's the kind of credit quality जहां पे बहुत deep understanding चाहिए. या तो आप इतने बड़े investors हो कि उसको बहुत closely monitor कर रहे हो, you have management connect, you can understand, and there are 3,000 NBFCs in India, right? SME में भी मुझे दिख जाती हैं NBFCs, 1,000 करोड़ के मार्केट कैप में भी दिख जाती हैं, कोई ऑटो में है, कोई एग्री में है, कोई कुछ है. तो जो भी NBFC है ना, कभी भी आप एज ए रिटेल पेन स्ट्रोक से नहीं जा सकते. आपको अंदर के जाके मैनेजमेंट समझना पड़ेगा, उसका क्रेडिट स्ट्रक्चर सकते हो, अगर तो आप एंट्री ही नहीं मार पाओगे एनबीएफसी में. तो अगर एनबीएफसी खेलना भी है तो आप बिल्कुल लार्ज एनबीएफसी, बट वो सब भी परफेक्टली प्राइस्ड हैं, थिंग्स लाइक बजाज फाइनेंस एटसेट्रा. तो दैट्स माय व्यू, एंड ऑब्वियसली यू विल फाइंड इनफ नंबर ऑफ पीपल टू हैव ए काउंटर व्यूज, बिकॉज दीज आर लार्ज सेक्टर्स, राइट? एवरीवन हैज ओपिनियन.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Yeah, Thermax and
Perfect.
KK one.
Prince, I'll take your permission. I have to also rush out. Thank you, everyone.
I'm so good. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for your time. Thanks everyone for joining today. Stock specific question we are avoiding for a known reason. Please bear with that. And I hope everybody enjoyed the session. And the beauty of these random sessions is like our eminent speakers who always add value, Sajal sir and others, Sandeep bhai and even Rajesh ji added great value. So definitely you guys must be learning the and decadal wisdom of our speakers, and definitely they focus more on the risk side or the margin of safety, because first rule is never lose your capital, right? So that note, I also thank Babulalji and Vineet Bhai for sharing his wisdom, and definitely a great value addition. And again, a sincere request, if you are yet to connect with my handle over Twitter and the YouTube channel, that is also by the same name, Accidental Investor Prince. I would request you to subscribe to that and share with your friends and family, so that the time and the efforts which are going in, you guys can definitely support more on that front, and we continue to bring more speakers and add value to everyone.
Same